Tenniel Rose Will and Rachel McAdams, yes, that Rachel McAdams, have been best friends since they were kids.
We've been able to find each other in the world. We've all gone through our own stuff, and we just kind of keep showing up for each other. And I don't know, that's just like true friendship. You just can't force it.
Just loving someone for who they are in whatever.
These two even finish each other's sentences, and given the varied landscape of their lives, they have a lot to say.
Cut 2 years later, I'm doing a theater camp.
And we'd already been friends for a few years at this point.
We were friends for a few years, and then we were in a show called Runaway.
Yeah, I was going to say we were in a show together.
Then, during the pandemic, Tenniel was diagnosed with colon cancer, and for the first time, neither she nor Rachel knew what to say.
I remember being like, what am I going to do? And she was like, what do you need?
Tenniel didn't know what she needed, and Rachel didn't know what to do.
Everybody wants to help, but nobody knows how.
And even if Tenniel did know what to say,
you don't want to be an imposition. You don't want to be a burden. You don't want to make anyone else's life stop because yours is.
Tenniel was facing 12 rounds of chemo, 6 weeks of radiation. She was a single mom to 3-year-old Archie, and her family lived hours away. She was going to need some serious help, some real care. This is Carry the Fire, a podcast by the Princess Margaret Cancer Foundation featuring inspiring personal stories about what happens when world-leading doctors, researchers, nurses, and their patients come together to ignite breakthroughs in cancer treatment. This is a podcast about innovation and radical hope. I am your host, Lisa Laflamme. In this episode, caregivers, the invisible backbone of the healthcare system.
We all know that friendships take twists and turns over a lifetime. Many of them don't survive. Yours has. Tell me about your first memory of each other. Rachel, we'll start with you.
Well, mine's a little foggy to start because I was 3 when we met. Tenniel lived across the street from me in southwestern Ontario.
And she had white hair. Her hair as a child was so white.
I think you're misremembering that. Blondish, dirty blonde.
3 years old and you remember she had blonde hair.
Because
she's a little older than me.
Oh, is that okay?
Oh, yeah. I would have been almost 5.
Oh, wow.
Stronger than...
I was going into 5, so I was there.
You were the cool kid. Yeah.
The older kid on the block.
Yeah, exactly.
I had the Barbies.
I remember coming down to her house with all my Barbies. I'd loaded them all up, dragging a big garbage bag down to hang out, and you weren't there. You had moved. She had moved away. And I remember going home, and I was so sad. And it really stayed with me.
Yeah, it did with me too. Even after years of being friends, wondering.
They didn't warn the 3-year-old that her close
or
friend
me. You know what I mean? And so that's why I remember her hair, because I always looked for her. And we were so young, we didn't know each other's last names. So I would always be like, "You're Rachel. Did you live on Chestnut Street?"
Oh.
You know what I mean? I would try. And then also, by the time...
It's a goosebump story, and it gets better. About a decade later, Rachel, now a teenager, went to a summer theater camp and met a girl named Tenniel. They became friends.
But it wasn't until I got my license.
That's right.
And then when I was 16, I was like, I can drive you home.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just remember pulling into the driveway, and it can still make the hair stand up because I was like, oh my God. I was like, did you have light blonde hair when you
asked
were
me
a
if I had
child?
always lived
I was
here.
like, did you always live here? And she's like, yes. And I was like, Rachel, you're the girl with the light hair.
That's amazing.
Then I had, I think, the moment
My
you had,
moment.
where I went, did you have a birthmark on your eyelid? Because I'm looking at you and you don't.
I have a scar.
You have a scar.
Where it
She
was
had
removed when I was younger.
And I was like, oh my gosh. And it all came rushing back.
I'm not going to claim to know anything about movie making, but this actually sounds like a script waiting to be written. What an incredible reunion.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was amazing to find each other so organically again. And then, that's sort of been happening ever since.
Rachel studied acting at York University and went on to star in blockbuster films like Mean Girls, The Notebook, Wedding Crashers, and one of my personal favorites, the completely quirky Eurovision Song Contest. Tennille studied fine arts at Brock University, traveled the world, and became a successful artist.
But we would always hook
find
up
each
in the
other.
summer,
But
do
then you
something.
moved
She lived for a time in Sydney, Australia, where Rachel came for an opening of one of her art exhibits.
That was funny because I was living in a really rough part. I was living above the Pink Pussycat
in the red light district.
Definitely
and I'm
not in TripAdvisor.
because I had to
no.
tell her where to meet me. And she's like, my guidebook says not to go there. I get really nervous. So I was like hiding in the freezer.
in the fridge. The fridge was
fridge,
empty because
like a
they were
walk-
closing the restaurant down, and you were.
Like, she's like, people want to talk to the artist. I'm like, I'm too nervous. And she's like, I can't tell them you're in the fridge. She's like, you have to get out and talk.
That's amazing.
yes.
So over the years, then you sort of dipped in and out of freezers and your own lives.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
been quite an adventure.
And then to be able to do motherhood together, I think is a really wonderful thing.
And then at one moment, your lives change dramatically when you feel something's wrong inside. Take me to the moment where you thought, I don't feel well.
I felt sick for, I would say, a good year and a half. But again, it was the pandemic had just started. And every time I went in, they were like, you're in your 40s and you got a small child. Of course you don't feel good. You know what I mean? You're a diabetic. Of course you don't feel good. And then finally I went back again because I'm like, you know what? I'm with 40-year-old moms and they're tired, but they're not like this tired. Like, it's a different kind of tired. And I knew that.
Eventually, Tennille was diagnosed with colon cancer.
And I remember saying to my doctor, I was like, oh, I wanted to go away for Christmas. I have plans. And he's like, you're not going anywhere.
So Tennille didn't go anywhere. She also didn't tell anyone what was happening.
There was a good 4 months where I kind of dealt with it alone because you don't know what stage it is yet. You don't know if it's metastasized. You don't know what the course of action is. So you don't know what to tell someone.
I have never met anyone with a higher pain tolerance than Tennille. So I think it's been one of the things that's probably helped her so much on this journey, but also at times maybe set her back because she's so tough.
Tennille had toughed it out for too long. She was stage 3. At that point, she had to tell someone.
It got to a point where I'm like, I'm going to need a team. They were like, you're going to have to talk to your friends.
Rachel, do you remember when Tennille first told you?
Yeah, we were talking about that recently. It's all a bit of a blur, because your world is just completely rocked. But I remember I live in the States now and but come to Canada every summer, and we happened to be in Canada. I think you were waiting to tell me when I
wanted to see you. Yeah, I think I wanted to be face to face. You don't want to make that phone call. She's my constant, right? So she was probably the one person I really wanted to tell. To be like, I think I'm going into this and I'm a little scared.
I can tell just by meeting you, though, that a sense of humor has probably been a pretty good mainstay to get you through this.
The medical community, though, isn't that funny. They don't
Yeah.
like it when you. They actually don't find me funny because I remember I had I think I'm trying to think of a doctor that came in, and at this point I'm already set up for chemo. I know everything, and they were like, "Do you know why you're here?" And I'm like, "It's not cancer, is it?" They're like,
Talk about an icebreaker, though.
You
But
know?
it also, for you, probably made you think, Rachel, okay, she's masking her fear here. You know her better than so many. Did it look like that to you?
It was hard to get a handle on what we were really talking about. It was really sort of broad strokes. And of course, I was, you just leap to the worst immediately. I was like, oh my God, am I going to lose my...
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I was like, okay, good. I did it on the pre-call, so I'm not going to do it now.
Then the dam broke. Tennille thought about her young son, Archie.
And I just remember losing it at that. What if my son doesn't know who I am?
And so you're telling Rachel, if I don't make it, make sure he knows this, this, and this about us as kids. And that must have been a pretty heavy conversation.
I'm sure I made it fun.
Tennille was about to undergo treatment, heavy treatment. She was going to need support.
She would be like, tell me what you need. Tell me what you need. And I'd be like, I don't need anything.
That's when Rachel created something she calls the side chat. Growing up in St. Thomas, Ontario, Rachel and Tennille had two other close friends, a brother and sister named Tom and Anne. The four of them share a lifetime of memories.
Do you remember we were at Tom's cabin, this is like a few years back, and I had a sliver in my hand and it had like gotten infected. And Rachel's like, oh, you need to put that in a poultice?
Mm-hmm.
So she like got some like bread and milk and I had to like soak my hand in it. And we were playing cards. I think we were playing Dutch Blitz.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is a good example of friendship. So I had my left hand was like soaking in this poultice. And then they were like, it's not fair that Tennille's playing with one hand. So we all have to play the game with one hand. And we all played Dutch Blitz with like one hand.
Dutch Blitz might have been a four-handed game of cards, but Rachel's side chat was only for three.
Yeah, we kind of did a side chat. So you're just finding out about this now.
That's okay.
So you cut her
laying
right
out.
out of the picture.
So we just cut her out. Exactly. Yes, we've learned after this many years. It's Tom and Ann.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know who they are.
Tennille's support team was going to be composed of three close friends. To better understand what that would mean, I spoke to Dr. Sarah Hales, co-director of something called the Caregiver Clinic at Princess Margaret Cancer Centre.
I think that's so essential that we clarify that when we talk family, we're talking chosen family. And for many people, that's not biological relatives. That can be close friends.
Caregivers, not just family, but equally important, chosen family.
I think that more and more in healthcare, we recognize that these individuals really are family and are really essential, and that we see them as on par with biological family caregivers. And then we have a lot of education to do within healthcare to be sure that nurses and physicians and allied health recognize that and ask patients, who is your chosen family? Who's the circle around you? And see those people as deserving of information and respect and inclusion in care. And that's, I think, really changing.
So Tennille's chosen family included Rachel, Anne, and Tom. Anne was in Toronto, boots on the ground. Rachel was at home in the United States and movie sets around the world. Tom was in Edmonton, so some of this caregiving was going to have to be remote.
That virtual care can be as valuable. And in some cases, it can be more effective because, again, it's flexible, right? So you're allowing people to be able to be available on their own time while continuing to maintain their own lives. And so that flexibility has really allowed a lot of care and relationships to flourish.
Just one example of that flexibility at Dr. Hale's clinic are the electronic patient charts you can access from anywhere, so everyone is on the same page, and the onus isn't on the patient to give health updates. Let's get back to that side chat.
The sneaky side chat. Yes. So we kind of sidebarred with each other. First, just to kind of take the onus off of Tennille so that she wasn't trying to manage us. Like, who can do what? How can I best use what your talents are? You know, like that was a lot.
Anne was really amazing in terms of like, she was constantly bringing over food. And then she was always trying to make sure I was in a positive place.
I think it's just staying involved, asking questions, just checking in constantly. What I also learned, it's like asking what someone needs is maybe not the first question. You know, I think you do sort of show up with the casserole and then they go, you know what? This is amazing. What I actually need is, you know, I think it's about like just taking steps. I think everyone's afraid. They don't want to be a burden. They don't want to go the wrong route. They don't want to offend anyone. They don't want to add to your emotional load by getting it wrong. But I think that just keeps everybody away and not communicating, right?
Instead of doing nothing, Rachel did something, and it forced Tennille to say something, anything about what she might really want. and need, like maybe childcare for Tennille's young son, Archie.
She's like, because there's nanny angels. She's like, do you want your child taken care of? And I was like, nope, I want him with me. I want every single minute of him with me. She's like, okay, well, you got to tell me what you need. She's like, because I want to help. And I'm like, well, I can't clean the house. I was like, I am really weak. Like, I can't sweep the floors. I can't wash the floors.
I think I went into practical mode pretty quickly.
What does that look like, practical mode for Rachel McAdams?
Yeah.
Well,
I'm
yeah.
going to jump in here because, like, actually, I thought she was really, really great. Like, she's always been like my North Star, like a very strong support system. Like, get it out, let's hear it. You know, what are you holding in? Like, let it go. And I remember being like, what am I going to do? You know, and she was able to navigate resources where I was like, couldn't see the forest for the trees. I was overwhelmed.
And I was like, oh, okay. I actually know this feeling as a mother. I would rather someone came in and did the practical stuff so I can hang out with my kiddos and like have a little bit of energy for that. So it became more like, you know, the groceries and just lifting groceries home, you know, like you didn't have a car at the time. So it was like, how are you just getting your basics, you know, all these things that when you're not thinking about when you're hearing a diagnosis, you know, you start to get into the nitty gritty of it as things move along. And then transportation as well.
Having the cab transportation was probably the most helpful thing.
So Tennille was better able to focus on the most important thing, Archie. She also found healing in her art.
I only paint from a happy place, so I was able to retreat into my studio, put on some meditation music, and just, you know, paint my flowers and beautiful, happy things. I think it's proven that the arts are healing. You know, whether it's music therapy or whether it's art therapy, it's a very healing process.
While Rachel couldn't be physically close, she was virtually right beside Tennille, online, hunting for help. What agencies provided support? What resources did the hospital offer?
Was it hard for you, Rachel, being far away and thinking, I've got to do this. I want to do this. Am I doing enough? Or I don't want to put words in your mouth. What was it like? Because now so many caregivers, families are so far apart. So tell me a little bit about the challenge of distance.
Yeah, that was definitely a concern.
You never felt far away. Just so you know, you never ever felt far.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It felt far to me sometimes, but you know, just not seeing the person every day and not being able to look in their eyes and like, how are you doing? You know, but in a way, it almost made you want to take care of things even more, like get things really set and tap into the organizations that were available, the things that could really be counted on, some stability, some structure, you know, just having the cleaning scheduled on a regular basis. You just know it's happening and it's something she can just know is coming, and it was the same time every time. And, you know, just little things like that where you're like, okay, so I can not be there and know that this is all still happening. It's all still in place and it's reliable.
The other thing that you also provided for me that I wouldn't have been able to provide for myself was a holistic aspect to the treatment.
Tell me about
so
that.
You had the resources to get me like a detox bath. You'd be like, oh, you need charcoal, you know, like get a charcoal bath, you know, steam this out. And it made a difference to me.
So you're busy researching?
She did everything.
That's amazing.
I was like, where do I have to be? What time? Like that was like the extent of what I could handle.
When Rachel was in town, she jumped right in. Well, as much as pandemic rules would allow.
But like we were talking today about like our boys, like, so I guess, would it have been like 3 years ago? So they would have been like 4 and 3. Mm-hmm. And she couldn't come into the hospital, but she dropped me off at radiation and waited outside with 2 small kids playing with their stuffies in the back seat of the car while I went in to get treatment and then was there to pick me up afterwards. Like,
they kept throwing their stuffies on the disgusting Toronto streets.
Oh, you know, out of the car, and then she'd have to get up, grab the stuffies, bring them back in. They'd throw them out.
Had fun.
So there are some good fun memories.
It's important to acknowledge that not everyone has the resources of a movie star like Rachel McAdams. It's something she's keenly aware of, even more so after her Tony-nominated performance on Broadway of a caregiver in Mary Jane.
I got a very intimate look at what a difficult job that is. And I don't think it necessarily applies totally to this situation because Tennille's so independent, and she did have, we had a lot of friends involved. So people who are doing this on a day-to-day basis and don't have the resources, I can't imagine. That's the woman I played, and I don't know how she did it every day.
Transportation, doctor's appointments, navigating a complex healthcare system, potentially supporting a wider network of kids, grandparents, and then the household stuff.
The distress amongst caregivers can be as high or higher than that of patients.
Here again is Dr. Sarah Hales.
And that's often because of the numerous roles they're playing and the fact that they are not only dealing with supporting somebody they care for emotionally, practically, but they're also dealing with their own feelings, potentially of fear, anticipated loss. So in those cases, they are often feeling incredibly isolated and really that they have not entitled actually to seek out support. This problem, what we call self-silencing, is a really big issue. Caregivers think, I'm not the one who's sick. This shouldn't be about me. And yet they're also often very distressed, but then feel they can't speak about it. So we do a lot of validating and normalizing their distress, really ensuring that they know that they're entitled to care and support and feel validated for the amount of work that they are doing. The other piece, though, that again I think sometimes doesn't get acknowledged is the enormous meaning and positive experience that can also come from caregiving. That's in there too, that we're built to be caregivers. That's, our humanity. This is, as humans, we do this naturally. We want to do this. And there's an enormous amount of meaning and purpose and intimacy that grows from providing care to the people that you love.
Does that make any sense to you, that there was a separate level of stress attached to caregivers?
I think it was for me, the stress was, am I doing enough? Should I be closer? I don't think it was the day-to-day seeing what the treatment was doing to her body. So it was more am I missing something? Because she's so tough.
Who wouldn't be with this kind of support? Do you know what I mean?
It's really emotional.
You want to rise to the challenge when you have this kind of support team.
Oh, and then you go and say something like that.
But it's funny what you're describing. That am I doing enough? There's almost a guilt attached that so many people I've spoken to have felt, that they're not, they want to move a mountain for their friend.
Right.
And you can only do what you can do.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you came up with a really good strategy with your own support to help Tennille.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't do enough in a way, but I do think you have to be strong for your friend on the days when they're not feeling like being so strong, and those days were few and far between for her. But just meeting her where she was, checking on, just making sure there were really stable things in place that she could count on and rely on, like things she just didn't have to think about. Just take a few things off the table, period.
How do you think, as far as just two girlfriends shooting the breeze, you were able to bring each other up? Because I think you probably needed it too. You must have had dark days, Rachel, knowing one of your closest friends is suffering so much.
Yes, definitely.
I don't mean to cut you off. I just thought of something funny. I found this really funny. So there were dark days. And one of the days, in between chemo and radiation, my friend Anne, she was like, we'll go on a fun road trip. We'll go and visit Rachel. Because I really didn't want to do radiation. I knew that if I had radiation, I would not be able to have another child. And that was what I really wanted, was another baby. I wanted my son to not be an only child. But the doctors were like, you have to live for the child that you do have. not for the child that you hope to have. So I was like, okay. So Anne got me in the car. We drove down, and I remember we were playing cards one night, and I'm like, I just don't want to do radiation. And Rachel was like, do you not remember how much you hated being pregnant? She's like, you did not enjoy that. And I was like, I did hate it. I was like, that was a horrible experience. And she's like, you've always wanted to adopt. And I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to adopt. What am I doing? She's like, have the radiation. I was like, I'll do the radiation. You're right.
Wow. Okay.
You know, but it was like, it's, you know, but only a good friend can talk to you like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, had a nurse said that to me, I'd be like, well, that's rude. You know what I mean? But like someone you've known your whole life can be like, dude, are you forgetting something? You did not like it.
Yeah, you did scare us for a minute when you were like, it's green juice for me all the way. And we were like,
What's the overriding message or takeaway or advice for the caregiver from your perspective as a friend who's known Tenniel your whole life, really, when it's the moment where you're there?
I don't think you can be there enough, really, until someone truly tells you to back off. But then they have something to respond to rather than let me know what I can do. There's nowhere to go with that, really. And we all know 9 times out of 10, that's just thank you so much. And, you know, the conversation kind of dies there. So in this case, I would say, you know, be annoying. Just be really annoying. And, you know, true friendship will soar through it.
With the help of her doctors and the support of her friends, Tenniel got through the treatments. The cancer is gone, but she remains under surveillance for a couple of years. She's gotten back into her painting, and she's creating an art therapy program for other cancer patients, providing them with paint kits to use as they navigate their own treatments.
What did you learn about Tenniel through this process?
Anything new?
I think learning your priorities as a mother, you know, like just that was such a light bulb moment for me. Like, oh, you don't want less time with Archie. You want more time with Archie. You want quality time with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just the idea that he might not know me really scared the crap out of me.
Right.
What did you learn about Rachel?
You know, she's always been like this amazing, like kind, like compassionate person. Like I'm trying to think. I feel like I knew that. But like, what was like, I don't know. I think just the level of support and commitment to be there. Because like, it's one thing when someone says, hey, I'll be there for you whenever you need me. And it's another thing when someone just shows up and says, I'm here. And I took care of this. And I took care of this. And I took care of this. And you have to make this phone call to make that happen. But other than that, like, you know, she put it all in a row. Like, I don't think I knew you were that organized.
I didn't either.
I was like, wow, you are really good.
Where do you see this relationship? Take me 20 years down the road.
Oh my gosh. Looks kind of like this, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I was like, I don't know. I was like, oh, this feels pretty good. We're probably at a spa somewhere, like eating oysters, playing cards. We're good card players. Probably drinking a martini, eating oysters, playing cards. I can see us.
I'd be good with that
60s?
at 95. Oh,
20 years. Obviously, neither of us are mathletes. So, like, 20 years. We're not 70 now. But although, you know what? She got me into pickleball, and I just love it.
Doesn't anybody just sit and read a book anymore?
but then we can't talk.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, we'd be too annoying to read beside each other. I'd be like, what are you reading? What's it say?
Growing old together, playing pickleball, enjoying a few oysters, and a game of Dutch Blitz. Tenniel and Rachel have the kind of friendship that's like a guide for grown-ups. Honesty, trust, mutual respect, and humor, especially during the hard times. You've been listening to Carry the Fire from the Princess Margaret, a world-leading cancer research center. If you found this episode meaningful, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. To learn more about Tenniel's art therapy initiative, check the show notes and share this podcast with friends and family to help spread the hope for a brighter future. I'm Lisa Laflamme. Thank you for listening.